Good day, ladies and gentlemen. As the famous old saying goes, no man is an island. We are all interconnected, and our relationships with others play a significant role in our mental health. That's why we are here today to talk about effective communication for better mental health and stronger relationships at work. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to our webinar in celebration of World Health Day. I'm Rituparna Paul, the nutrition expert at Vantage Circle, and I will be your host and moderator for this session. As we all know that mental health is a critical aspect of overall well-being, and the pandemic has brought about so many unique challenges in our lives that I believe that it is becoming increasingly essential to discuss the importance of maintaining good mental health more important than ever. So, in this webinar, we'll be exploring various ways to communicate effectively and build stronger relationships at work for better mental health and well being. Therefore, we have an incredible panel of speakers today who will share their expertise and experiences with us. Each of them brings unique insights and perspectives on the topic that we are going to discuss. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to our first speaker. So, firstly, we have Ankit Malhotra, the CEO of Hey. Ankit is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur with a wealth of experience in the e-commerce and technology sectors. He has held leadership positions in well-known companies like Flipkart and Lazada, and is the founder of Hey, a mental health startup that operates out of Singapore. During his time at Flipkart, Ankit was instrumental in expanding the company's laptop and gaming categories on the national level. As the CEO of Hey, Ankit is focused on creating a cutting edge preventive mental health care solution with the help of Hey's unique human in loop system and soon to be launched AI driven solutions. With his experience and vision, Ankit aims to revolutionize the industry with a product that addresses the increasing need for mental health support globally. Hi, Ankit. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the invite. Doing well. Hope you are too.
All right. So, secondly, we have Alpa Momaya, a highly experienced registered nutritional practitioner with over 20 years of experience in clinical nutrition, pre and postnatal diets, and weight management. She holds a postgraduate diploma in nutrition and dietetics from University of Mumbai, which has provided her with a deep understanding of the importance of good nutrition in an individual's life. As the R&D head of nutrition at Healthify Me, Alpa is dedicated to promoting healthy living and has a passion for healthy cooking. She has hosted several corporate webinars and Instagram live sessions and nutrition-related topics, including healthy cooking recipes. Her expertise and passion for nutrition make her an invaluable asset to the health and wellness industry. Hi, Alpa. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So, last but not least, we have our very own CTO and co-founder of Vantage Circle, Anjan Pathak. He's a technology leader with over 2 decades of experience in building and deploying cross-channel web applications. He's a passionate health and wellness enthusiast, and even holds the prestigious Ironman title in triathlon. Anjan spearheaded the development of our product VantageFit, which promotes total employee well-being across organizations worldwide. It's hard to believe that this all began 6 years ago, and today, VantageFit is used by multiple companies across the globe to implement well-being initiatives within their organizations. With Anjan at the helm, we are confident in our technological progress and evolution towards a healthier and happier workplace overall. Hi, Anjan. How are you today?
Yeah, hi, Rituparna. Thank you for the kind introduction, and I welcome everyone to the webinar, and thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ankit, Alpa, and Anjan. Also, I encourage all our attendees to actively participate in the Q&A and discussion session at the end of the webinar to get the most out of our panelists' expertise and insights. And if you have any question during the meeting, the easiest way to let me know is to use the raise hand emoji, and I'll help you get your answers. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope that this session will be informative and valuable for you all. So without further ado, let's get started. So, firstly, let's kick off our discussion with Ankit Malhotra. Ankit, I'm curious to know more about Hey. I mean, your journey so far. Can you briefly share with us about your mental well-being startup and what inspired you to start this venture?
Got it. Thanks for the opportunity. With Hey, Hey started off about 2 years back. Really happy to also share that Vantage Circle is one of our partners who has been actively using Hey for their employees. So the journey like for Hey started 2 years back, but I would say my journey into understanding mental health and understanding what really goes on, from an employee perspective, even at a personal level. I think that started maybe much earlier. My 2 years, my first job out of India was with Lazada. I think personally, and I'll speak more about it, but I think personally, those two, everything that could go wrong, personally did go wrong in those 2 years. And I'm pretty open about sharing what I kind of went through. It was, I think, for my self confidence, for the way, for my professional career, it was probably my lowest point ever in my career. And I had a decade of experience before working at some of the leading companies in India. So that, I would say, in a very large extent, what I personally went through kind of shamed up my understanding of what's needed in the mental health space. I think early 2021, we started exploring. I started exploring, what are the right solutions. And again, I digged into my own personal experience. I had gotten a coach for myself. After I quit Lazada, I worked upon myself along with this coach, for a extensive period, about 5 to 6 months. And what I realized was, a digital only solution was not really the most effective solution when it came to mental health. There were about 20,000 apps on the App Store. And we were not moving faster. We were not moving ahead at a speed that we wanted to. A human in the loop system along with digital care is what we conceptualized, is what we are still working on, how to kind of make it better. But sorry for the long answer, but I think that's really been the journey, and that's really been how we are kind of envisioning the product as we kind of move ahead. Human care, very very intertwined with digital care, we feel is one of the most effective ways in solving for mental health.
Okay. Ankit, how many people have Hey helped in healing their wounds?
We've actually we are close to about 200,000 odd installs. Pretty soon. In terms of conversations, I think we would have crossed about 2 million plus. Chats till date. So insane number of people. This is spread across. I think globally. Just some quick shares. We observed in the last 6 to 7 months. Russia and South Korea actually were using our platform, even though we were in English, as an app. It's, I think the need, when there is a need and when there is a credible solution, people do break barriers. People do kind of go beyond the stigma that exists, and they do take help, in those circumstances. So, yeah, it's been a that way is pretty enriching journey personally as well.
Great, great, really great. It's so nice to hear that you and your team have helped so many people get out of their maybe mental trauma or their wounds. Really nice journey.
Thank you.
Uh, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Just like physical health, mental health is also something we need to take care of, and talking it out solves most of the problems, right? And listeners can also play a significant role in supporting people who might be struggling. In fact, speaking of listeners, I had a personal experience and I would like to share that with you. So, my colleague was going through a very bad time in her life, and I'm glad that she shared it with me. And then, naturally, I wanted to console her, right? So, I wanted to even empathize with her, but somehow I could not do that well, and I did not know what to say. So on that note, Ankit, can you tell us what are some simple ways we can support our colleagues' mental health through everyday communication? I mean, how can we be more empathetic and supportive in these situations?
Right. Um, I mean, first of all, great question. I know you shared with me, and I had some time to kind of really think about it. The simple act of communication is very less understood, and like you pointed out, the part about listening is even lesser understood. We talk, but we don't listen. And that's kind of the root of all issues that kind of crop up in all situations. So I'll start with the very basic fundamental, which is about communication is about building relations, and the relations that you build at work also creates the culture of the company that you're kind of part of. That being said, I think relationship and culture is not a God given. I think it's every team member's responsibility. So, like you just mentioned, Ritupurna, that you were trying to be empathetic and you wanted to assist your colleague. It really
Right.
stems from there, and all of these individual efforts really kind of build up the company culture where everybody is kind of in that mode of assisting their colleagues. So this is a very important fundamental part of building a very good company where communication is given importance, relationships are kind of given importance. Now, to come to my, so this is point one. Let's say I kind of put through a couple of pointers that I thought I'll probably share today. So this is point one. I think before coming to point two, if you let me, I'll share a quick anecdote.
Sure.
So
Go
yeah. Okay. So it happens that husband wakes up and in the morning, and immediately he says to the wife, I'll have a bread omelette for breakfast today. And they go about their business. And once he's at the dining table, he gets a ball of walnuts for breakfast. So he's a bit intrigued, what really happened. I asked for something else. And then he goes about by his day, right? So, and he's kind of asked his wife, what, I feel like having noodles today for lunch. But when he opens up his lunchbox, he's surprised. In the lunchbox, he's got Karela and something on those lines. Again, he's very confused. What's really happening. And then he, being a vegetarian, he had asked for something for dinner. And he has tandoori chicken served in front of him for dinner. So again, he's pretty confused. What's really happening? I'm constantly asking for things, not really getting them. Next day, he starts the day with a good morning to his wife, and everything goes fine, for the rest of the day. I think you get where this, is, heading to. Typically, in a work environment, we are constantly under pressure of performance, of our targets, that we fail to treat each other as as humans, as we'll treat our close ones, right? In a family relationship, we fail to greet each other, right? So in just an example from Hey, every time we enter a meeting, every time we are having a one-on-one, we always start with how you are doing, and and by research, I'll tell you, when you ask somebody how they are doing, it's very difficult to feign something which is not right. Like it'll be difficult for you to kind of have this poker face, or not express your emotions honestly. So you get to know how the person is actually doing by their response. So that's the second point, right? That once you ask them how they are doing, you observe, you listen on how they express themselves, and this forms a very important, right? Once you observe, this becomes a very important input to you as a colleague, to know how the person is doing. Now, I'll tell you, me and Mahima, another leader at our place, we are constantly discussing about our employees. We discuss about, what I've been observing, this person has not been doing so well. It feels like, they are going through something. Should we talk to them? So we are constantly analyzing how people are doing, right? So these are certain tangibles and intangibles that you will get from, like you just, the example that you gave on, you felt about that, about your colleague, and you wanted to speak. So these are tangibles and intangibles which are very, very important for you to assess, observe, and action upon. So point 2, right? Greet people, observe how people are doing, right? So this forms a part of very effective communication relationship. I think the third point that I'll talk about, which has, in the hybrid workplace, which has, very early in COVID, everybody was like, what, we'll work from home, amazing productivity. We'll not get into those corner conversations. We'll not go for chai. We'll not do this. We'll not do that. Finally, after 6 months to 1 year, everybody realized how important those corner conversations were.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly right. So very important. These informal talks, help one strengthen relationships at work, right? These small talks are important. We end up thinking that maybe some bitching going on, maybe this going on, but end of the day, these are times when people are relaxed. The burden of work goes down. Your brain is at ease. It really helps, develop relationships, like I mentioned as well. So these informal conversations pave the way of, really building a very good communication culture within the company, right? And these are important. Now, in the hybrid workplace, how do you do it? Because there is an increasing, scope of disengagement happening because you're, working out of different locations, and we've experienced the same at Hey as well. So what we did, simple experiment, is that we asked our users, our employees, to to book a 15-minute slot, with their other teammates once a week, right? Random teammates, book a slot and speak with them. This really helped people develop empathy. This really helped people develop better understanding of what the other person is doing. This really, helped people appreciate the workplace and, get engaged. So, very, very important. These are some of the big things, more research backed, more practical, that I wanted to share today. I'll leave this by giving you a mantra. I when I was kind of writing this down, it kind of came very organically. I'll give you the mantra of GOAT, GOAT, right? The greatest of all time, GOAT, which is to greet. Okay, in every communication, greet, observe. Once the person tells you something, observe. Please observe. That's a part about listening. Assess, right? So if it's happening number of times, 2 times, 3 times, then that's a signal that something is not right. And the last T is about talking. Talk to the person. If you're not able to help, get professional help, right? So get somebody like Hey, or get any help professionally. Don't try to advise. Let some things be taken care of by professionals. But that's the mantra that I'll probably end at. Which can really probably help develop good communication and relations at work.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Ankit. Alpa and Anjan, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, I think Ankit has summarized all the points really well. It's really important because in this current world of remote work, and also the kind of culture that we have created in the workplace nowadays. It's really important that I think it's really important that we actually learn and adapt. That's what I wanted to add, because it's an ongoing issue. So we need to really actively looking at what is happening right now and how we are resolving the conflicts. And ultimately, I think it's about learning and adapting to the ongoing situation, because it's constantly evolving, right? So that is what I want to add. Alpa, you have anything to add?
I think it was summed up all very well, but I kind of relate, like, because I am work from home. So at times I kind of feel, if I want to speak something or tell something, communicate, it gets difficult at times, and then you kind of miss that in-person contact and speaking out loud. And then when you meet your colleagues, it opens up a lot of possibilities, and you can kind of communicate better. So yes, communication, building that rapport and positive relationship all go hand in hand.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your valuable insights and supporting insights on supporting our colleagues' mental health through communication. It is very important, after all, to approach these situations with empathy and understanding. And your advice will undoubtedly prove helpful to me and many of our attendees, of course. I look forward to hearing more from you on this critical topic. Uh, now moving on to Anjan. Anjan, as the CTO and co-founder of such a big organization, employee engagement company, we know that employee well-being is a top priority for you, right? So I have a question regarding mental health communication in the workplace. So how can we as employees or leaders effectively communicate our mental health needs and concerns in a way that is assertive but not aggressive or confrontational?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I was thinking about this, like how do you really open up, basically, right? And there are various ways, but I come from a world of technology, so bear with me because I do not understand mental health very well. So because, as I said, right, coming from a world of technology, like we always see the world in ones and zeros, right? It's either right or wrong. But mental health is not really, there is a lot of gray areas, I feel, and it's very difficult for us to, for at least me to measure, and I always look for logical answers to things. So it's really difficult world for us. Okay. But if you give me real life examples, right, I find it easier to relate. So I am trying to come up with some real life examples of what happens, right? And if I can relate to some physical world, then it's easier, because as you know, there's no real way to measure mental health, right? So it's very really difficult. So then I was thinking, like, what happens with mental health? First of all, right, I'm trying to measure it to the physical world, right? So physical health, for example. So in the world of physical health, right, we do not really say it's physical health. What I really look forward to in physical health is fitness, right? So now if we can change the narrative from, I mean, this is my way of thinking it, right? Because the moment you say mental health, right, to me, right, at least to the world where I don't understand very well, it immediately brings a little bit of uncomfortableness or a stigma, a little bit. Mental health, oh, because I come from a world where mental health, or in a previous generation, mental health was about going to asylums, to be very honest. But nowadays things have changed. This topic is very 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 open now. So how do you really change or how do you tell stories, so that people can understand better? So I think of mental health as mental fitness now. It's about mental fitness, where, because when I think of mental health, I think like there is a goal, to reach, that you have to be always happy, you have to be always joyful. No, it is not about that. Because when I'm talking about physical health, right, when I go to the gym or when I go for a run, it's not always a good day. I don't always have a good day. So it's okay to be sad sometimes. It's okay even to be depressed, because these are part of human emotions, I believe, right? So what I'm thinking now is, like, it's probably better to talk about mental fitness. So when it's talk about fitness, right, I think about resiliency. I think about there's a word called anti-fragile, which means, if you are hit by something, right, you try to become better than what you was before. So it's not about resiliency anymore, it's about try to become better. So that's what is about mental fitness. So I don't talk about mental health now. I don't think like mental health. It's about fitness. You need to be anti-fragile, which means, if you are hit by something, right, so you need to be better than what you were before. So this is the story I'm trying to play in my own head. I don't know if it is correct, but this is how I think. So that is number one. Then again, the second way I think, right? I mean, this is about telling stories. Okay, so if I can tell my stories, my own stories, my listeners will probably be inspired, and I need to be able to tell the stories in a very relatable way. And I like to relate to the physical world all the time. So let me tell you my own experience about physical health. So my mother is a diabetes, okay, and my all my father's side, diabetic as well. So I have a very high chances of having diabetes, and I am very comfortable talking about this, problem of diabetic. I'm probably have a very high chance of being diabetic, but I do take care of it, okay. But my mother never knew about this situation, that she was also very prone to having diabetes. In fact, she died of complications due to diabetes. A lot of my uncles have died of having diabetes. But I'm very open about it, right? But am I open about my mental health? Maybe not, right? So, but the reality is that, I have recently read a book. It's a book about It Didn't Start With You. And that opened my mind about mental health a lot, or mental fitness rather. That actually the mental health also, like physical health, right? It's kind of, a lot of things are genetic. It's a genetic disposition. Like if it's it can be generational trauma as well, right? So now suddenly, if I can change the narrative slightly, right, to my listeners, to the people or the employees that I serve, if I can talk openly that, hey, this is not about you. Mental health is just not about you. It's actually it could be. It's mostly genetic, right? There are some environmental factors as well, but there is a lot of genetic disposition, like physical health. If I tell my story about physical health, right, that I am prone to diabetes. So similarly, if I have problems, if I could have asked, let's see, hey, mother, what kind of problems you faced, right? Or my father, what kind of problems they faced. Maybe I could have better explanation of the problems that I have when it comes to my mental fitness, right? So it's easy to then relate, it's easy to also open up, because then people loses the stigma that, oh, mental health is not just because of you, it's probably because of the generational trauma. It could be even ancestors, right? So this is a very opening thing, right? It opens up a lot of talks. So I think the knowledge is very important, I feel. So there is a lot of lack of knowledge in this area, and I'm really happy at the end of the day that this whole field has opened up a lot, and we are talking a lot more about mental health. And like I said, right, our previous generation, right, they did not know about much about diabetes. They did not know much about hypertension, right? But I think it's about time. I mean, those things that we are very much aware, And now with all these technologies, right, like Apple Health Watch and all these things, these are very easy to measure. But I think the issue of mental health or mental fitness, it's still difficult to measure. So I hope, only to openness and the culture of, leading by examples, telling your own stories, we can really open up. And that's how I think we need to address this situation. As leaders, we are also supposed to, open up and tell our own stories, tell our own experiences. And that is very important, I feel.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insightful thoughts, Anjan. And again, as you have had the opportunity to work with people from different cultures and backgrounds, I'm sure you have seen misunderstandings and conflicts going on here and there, right? And especially when there is a breakdown in communication. So, Anjan, how do you suggest handling conflicts or misunderstandings that may arise due to communication breakdowns at work? I mean, what are some strategies that you have that have worked for you in the past?
I think in this answer to this question, most of the things Ankit has already pointed out, but it's about a few points that I'd like to and just add on. So it's just address the issue promptly, because we are humans, we make mistakes, and it's easy when the fire is, we put water to the fire as soon as possible. So it's really important to address it quickly, and then listening to both the parties, and then figure out basically what their concerns, and have an empathy to both the parties, and then address the solution. And as I said earlier, it's all about, I think, learning and adapting, because the situations are changing every day. With remote work and everything, right? It's very difficult to basically, these kind of conflicts can happen easily, because earlier everything was face to face, right? So, but people becomes very different when they are actually behind the camera, or when they are actually behind the chat screens, right? Or when they are behind the writing an email, right? So what I advise people is, right, when you are writing something, or when you are try never ever to basically write something which might upset the other party, right? So this is very important, because, as I said, right, it's very, very easy to get misunderstood when you are not having the communication face to face. So this is where I think it's very important to keep everything in a professional manner, as well as, if some conflicts happen, right, have a face to face communication as much as possible. Always have a chat, have a if not possible face to face, then at least have a call, right, with all the parties. But if we can do that, then things get sorted very easily.
All right. So, Alpa, you have mentioned that you work from home, right? So, how do you deal with conflicts or misunderstandings that may happen in your organization?
So exactly what Anjan said is it definitely helps if you try to have the connect. So if it's work from home, at least to have a video call, get all the parties involved, and more of an open conversation, even if it's not face to face, at least on a video call, which is now very much possible. Even in meetings and all, I tend to usually tell my teammates to switch on their cameras, so you can understand the emotions, you can understand what is happening, whether they are
Yes.
liking the conversation or not. So all of these, I think, that openness and being vocal. And the third thing I feel is to accept if there is something which is not gone right, and then take action accordingly. So I think all of these would help.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you so much, Alpa and Anjan, for sharing your valuable insights on how we can leverage communication to support mental health at work. So, speaking of mental health, we all know that nutrition plays a crucial role in our overall well being. So, moving forward, I have a question for Alpa again. As a registered nutrition practitioner for the last 2 decades, do you think nutrition impacts health? If yes, how can it affect our ability to communicate effectively?
Okay, so as Anjan had been speaking about physical health, right? So obviously, we usually think of nutrition as affecting physical health, right? All of us try to eat right for physical wellness, fitness, whatever. But we need to know that nutrition has significant effect on mental health as well. So what we eat affects our moods, our memory, our concentration, thinking, so many mental abilities that whatever food we eat affects. Also, there are a lot of nutrients which a brain needs to function normally. So, to name a few, there are good fats or the omega fats, then there are vitamins like the B vitamins, then some minerals, and a lot of antioxidants, which is like the big thing that people hear about. These antioxidants are actually found majorly in fruits and vegetables, and they protect our body from damage. So, if there is a deficiency of any of these nutrients, definitely it's going to affect our brain as well as behavior. And other reason that what we eat affects brain so strongly is the connection between the brain and our gastrointestinal tract or gut. So we call our gut as a second brain. Now this many times, like if we feel that queasy feeling in the stomach, or we feel butterflies in our stomach if you are anxious or if you're nervous before a meeting, or oftentimes you tend to overeat or binge eat on certain food if you're angry, sad, depressed, right? So all of this from the gut the messages are transmitted to the brain. And how it is done is our gut has millions of bacteria. So these bacteria help produce some chemicals in our body, and these chemicals throughout the day, night, they transmit messages to our brain. After this message, these chemicals, that is how our body reacts, right? Physical, whether like now I'm moving my hands or we feel certain emotions, all of these are because of these messages. So what happens is, um, these hormones, if they are in normal levels in the gut, like you give gut good food and it is in normal levels, you'll feel happy, calm, stable. Emotionally also, you're very focused and everything. But if these levels go up and down, everything goes deranged. Your brain doesn't get proper messages, and then you start feeling mental issues, which could be anxiety, depression, or inability to communicate, right? Also, there are certain foods, right, which affect our brain a lot. And the number one which comes in my mind is probably refined sugar or processed foods. So today's
True.
world, it's all about sugar, processed food. We eat so much of packaged foods, and it has it does a lot of damage to the brain than we can even think of, right? So what happens is, when you eat a lot of sugar continuously, it reduces your gut flora. It also reduces the vitamins which the brain needs. And the most importantly, there is a term which we call as chronic inflammation. So this chronic inflammation means your body treats it as an enemy. Your immune system is attacked, and this is the cause of majority of the health issues, including mental issues, right? So sugar probably is something which affects. And on the other hand, if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables which have good antioxidants, they lower that inflammation and they give better mental health. Sugar also, one more thing I want to talk about sugar is, when you eat something which is high in sugar, like say candies or colas or something which is sugar laden, it causes a huge spike and an instant spike in our blood sugar. And as fast as it goes up, it goes down also very fast. So this is called as sugar spike and crash, spike and crash. So all these ups and downs confuses the brain, confuses the gut, and you start feeling irritable. As kids, if you give small kids, if you give them candies, a lot of candies, or if you give them cold drinks, they'll start running around like you. It's they are unstoppable. They run so much. They have so much of energy. Now all that is because of that sugar rush. So your brain is confused. It doesn't know when to stop. And again, it affects our communication also. So there are a lot of devices now in the market called as CGM, which even our Healthify Me Pro plan, which we have newly launched, we are adding CGM to it. So that kind of helps you which food will be good for you, which will produce stable sugar levels, and which food will give spikes. So it can kind of help you, right? Such devices and plans. Um, when it comes to communication, okay, so if you have good nutrition, like you eat nutrient rich food, your mood is good, you are focused, and you can communicate also well. But on the other hand, if your diet is full of processed food, very low nutrition value, your energy levels are constantly low, or you're completely irritated all the time, and you struggle to focus or think clearly. And probably what happens is, you cannot communicate well, or maybe you thought you will say something but you end up saying something else, or you get so agitated and you're so you speak very in anger, and it's very difficult to build good relationships at work, or build that rapport which is very necessary. And I think somewhere we forget that nutrition can play a role. It could be, maybe you have tons of meetings starting from day to night, evening. You've not had a single meal, and then some colleague comes to you or your teammate comes to you and you start yelling at them, and you don't
Yes.
realize, you think, okay, I'm tired, but do you really think that you've skipped a meal, which is probably why your body is not able to cope up, right? So definitely, diet plays a very important role, and the type of food you eat will play a very important role in mental health as well as effective communication.
Exactly. Very, very well said and on point. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on the link between nutrition and mental health. As a nutrition expert myself, I completely agree that the food we eat can have a significant impact on our mental health. With that said, my another question for you is, how can we recognize if our diet is negatively affecting our mental health? I mean, what steps can we take to improve it?
Right. So it's, oftentimes we will not correlate our diet to the issues we are facing on mental front, because, well, there are multiple reasons. First of all, that acceptance is not there, that, diet can be a cause of anything. So on a mental front, usually we associate diet with only physical symptoms. Secondly, the symptoms are also very subtle and they can progress over a period of time, so you can't really pinpoint. Say, for example, like I said, right, you are irritated, you may think because of the work. Or if you are tired all the time, you may think maybe it's the weather outside or something, but you wouldn't really pinpoint it on food. But there are certain signs which can actually tell you that something is wrong with your diet. So the first thing is the mood changes, like all the things I mentioned, whether irritability, anxiousness, nervousness, feeling angry, sad. Then second thing is feeling tired all the time, or your constant low energy and you really don't know why that is happening, right? So it could mean that somewhere you're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs. Also, whenever you have difficulty concentrating, you're in a meeting and you can't focus, or you don't remember things, which we call it as brain fog, that could also
Mhm.
mean that your diet is not very well balanced. Then constant cravings, like you've just had your meal but you feel like eating some sweet, or you feel like you want a sweet all the day, or you have these salty cravings all the day, you just want to eat some packet of chips, right? All of these cravings also suggest there is something wrong with your diet. And then I mentioned about the gut brain connection, right? So if you're having any digestive issues, like, you're always feeling bloated or having gas or having constipation, could also mean that your gut health is compromised and it could lead to mental distress. So there are various symptoms. If you really pay attention to, you can relate it to your diet. And I always suggest, maintain a food and mood diary. So say you eat a particular food, this is what you felt. You ate this is what you felt. If you maintain that food and mood diary, you kind of correlate which food is working for you, which is not. So coming to the steps to improve it, I think first step is food and mood diary. And I think more than that, all of us forget to eat mindfully. So mindful
Mhm.
eating is something that I would suggest as the first step. Be aware of how you feel when you eat something, and where you are eating and what you are eating. Whether you are eating more if you are emotionally stressed, whether you are eating more if you're angry, or you're eating a particular food on and on and on, which does not have nutrients, but you're not listening to your body, right? So always listen to your body. Sit without any disturbances, without any mobile gadgets or anything. Have a fixed schedule for eating, and always take food at a time in a plate, and do not try to fill it over and over again, because your brain needs time to register that it's full. So after 15 minutes, probably you think if it is needed or not, right? Along with that, I think eating a well balanced diet is very, very important. Today, with in today's world, there is this thing about, for fat diets, where you want to eat less calories, and especially I think the first thing you would want to omit is fat. Sab fat nikal do, everything,
Yes,
remove
yes.
all the fat from your diet. But fat is
But
very
no,
important,
that is important.
is because without
Exactly.
omega 3s, your brain cannot function. So you need those omega 3 fats, and you cannot remove such important macronutrients from your diet. So eat all your macronutrients. It's about how much you eat, right? So omega 3 fats, I think it's one of the best ways when you're depressed, when you're feeling sad. You eat some nuts like almonds, walnuts, and you will get that peace. You will feel full. So anything which has got omega 3 fats like almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, fatty fish like salmon. Like, people try to choose white meats and not choose the red fish because it's got more fat, but that fat is the best thing in the fish which is going to help you, right? So and try to restrict your intake of sugars and processed food. I'm not saying like totally avoid it, but limit their intake, because we know the issues we have with that. And then gut health is as important for mental health. So improve your gut health, include probiotics like curd, and especially the homemade curd, then fermented pickles and all. Include a lot of prebiotics or the food for the bacteria, which is all the fiber rich foods. And as many colors as you can, as per the season, is really going to make your gut happy, and that's going to make your brain happy also. And again, one more thing when it comes to diet is we forget about water and the effect of water on mental health. Like dehydration, if you're dehydrated, often the body confuses it with hunger. So you end up eating a lot of food, but you don't get any results out of it. So first, tackle that dehydration. Stay hydrated throughout the day, because dehydration can lower your brain function considerably. So a
True.
big tip I give to people who don't drink water is to make infused water, add in the seasonal fruits into your water. It smells great and you really love to drink that water. And the best indicator of dehydration is the color of your urine, right? It has to be pale. The more pale it is, the better indicator that your body is hydrated, right? And Exercise, I mean, as much as you can, whether it's walking in between your meetings, or talking on the phone, or just taking a stroll, whatever you can, in however form, is as good for mental health as much as nutrition is. Both go hand in hand, right? So
Right.
to sum it all up, I feel, it's not about omitting anything. It's about eating a wholesome meal, nutrient rich meal, and don't expect to change everything together. Even one small change you make in a day, like adding one fruit every day, or waking up and adding like 5 almonds, or adding in that glass of water after every meal, is also going to count, and eventually you will see positive results in both your body as well as mind, right? And just would like to tie it up with what we do at Healthify Me is, we focus on a lifestyle change, and we focus more, rather than subtracting foods, or removing foods, or forcing you to eat a diet food that we call. We want to incorporate all of these foods and suggest you a lifestyle change. So do look out for the plans that we have on Vantage Fit website. We have a 15% discount as well for those who want to enroll. And we also have something called a smart plan, which is like a DIY plan. So, just show your intent and we can help you activate that as well. So you do need help at times. You can take that help. And always remember that good nutrition is the backbone of a happy brain, right? So you eat good food, you are in a good mood, and I think everything else fits accordingly.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, this is so important. Many of us are not even aware of the impact our diet can have on our mental well being, right? So, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Alpa. Um, as we near the conclusion of our discussion, I would like to initiate a question and answer session and invite all our attendees to drop any doubts or queries they may have for our esteemed panelists in the comment box. All right. So, Ankit and Anjan, what are your thoughts on this, on nutrition? How nutrition can play a role in mental health? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this is quite fascinating. What I heard from Alpa. I mean, I always thought that nutrition is something to do with physical health, but at the end of the day, right? And I think it's very related, as I said earlier, or as I correlated, our physical health. It's not just not just you. It's basically, what comes from genetics, what is the environmental factors, and ultimately, what you do with your own body, basically, right? So similarly, mental health is similar. Nutrition is a very, very important factor. So it just relates to your, ultimately physical health. All these things like, uh, good fat, less sugar. In fact, sugar is the primary cause of, going to be the primary cause of death, basically, in the next couple of decades, I think.
True.
Sugar is always the right thing to do. And then exercise. There's not much you can do about, I think. I mean, this is again knowledge that I am trying to understand. Like, is there anything that I can do separately for mental fitness? But it looks like it's again relates to your physical fitness, like nutrition, basically. Is there anything that you can do separately for your mental fitness? Uh, but I think there is not really anything separate. But as long as your physical fitness is good, I think your mental fitness will be also good. So just concentrate on, how do you keep up with your physical fitness, and that will probably improve your mental fitness as well. Right.
Yeah. I think Alpa was extremely, detailed about her explanation. I really loved it. A couple of nuggets for me as well to learn from. But I think what Alpa just mentioned, that nutrition is kind of like the backbone, and I instantly related to one of Sadhguru's saying that if your tummy is upset, you can't reach spirituality, right? So it's as easy as that. You've got to kind of work on your nutrition, absolutely well. And for us people who are kind of reaching our 40s and above, I think nutrition plays an increasingly important role. I've had my own experiments. I think Alpa didn't mention about let's say some of the substances that we constantly consume, like alcohol as well, which and there are quite a lot of myths about having just one glass a day. And I was reading very recent research about that there is no truth in it, that it's actually helpful for you to be having a glass of wine on a daily basis as well. So there are some lifestyle changes that need to be taken care of. I think one thing that I'd like to add to Alpa's explanation is, I think the timing with which you eat really impacts. Like, really, in India we usually have very late dinners because we get free really late from office. And I was constantly having dinners at like 9:30, 10, and that impacts your sleep. And when that impacts your sleep has a direct impact on your mood, on how irritable you are, on how so it all of these things are very, very related to each other, in your mental fitness. And I think, just to kind of add to what Anjan said, yes, I think nutrition is a backbone to mental health, but it just doesn't stop there. I'd kind of go back to what Anjan said on generational trauma. It's a study, it's a field that's really coming up, and it's insanely interesting for me personally. There are a lot of unresolved things that actually they kind of shape you as an individual. And if you really think about what you do, or how you behave, and you have a bit of a growth mindset, that what, this is how I am, but there is room for improvement. There are things that I can be better at, right? So I think if we have that kind of a mindset on for our own selves, right, it can be increasingly, it can be very, very beneficial, for everyone, to just become better individuals, right? End of the day, I'm constantly striving to become a better parent. I'm constantly striving to be a better, let's say, a leader in the company. I've got my gaps, but that's the starting point, that you have your gaps, you identify them, and then you start working towards them. That's how you kind of grow. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of sum up what Alpa said and Anjan said, just kind of bringing it together, from my side. Yeah.
Great, great. So we have two questions from our attendees. So the first one is for Alpa, I guess. The question is, I want to ask, why do we feel angry most of the time, and how do we control that?
Right. So I think I did talk a little bit about it before as well. Oftentimes, the feelings of anger could stem maybe from deficiencies which are there. So I'm taking it from the nutrition standpoint, and of course, there are other ways that you can deal with it. But from nutrition standpoint, many a times when there are some deficiencies in your body, nutritional deficiencies, and your body is trying to send a message to your brain that there is something there missing, but that communication is broken, the messaging is broken. um, the brain does not know how to react, and probably it comes out in bursts of anger. And maybe that is not what you had intended, but at that moment of time you just vented it out, and then you realize that that was not the right way to deal with it. So I think first and foremost, deal with the way, or try to figure out why you are feeling angry. Maybe write a journal or write down that are you feeling angry because you did not eat anything, or because you are feeling some emotion apart from anger which is causing that, or probably it could be you feel incapable, or you feel that you are not taking it in the correct way, and you want to give it out in the form of anger. So finding the root cause for it is something that I would suggest, and that can only happen if you go inside and start to analyze it. And the solution that I feel when you're getting angry all the time is probably as simple as drinking a glass of water. So just when you feel that anger coming, take 10 sips of water and try to calm yourself down, or like they say, count to 10, or go and punch something and come back, or just get up from there and walk around and come back. Probably that anger would have come down and you would feel much better. So analyzing and taking it, dealing with it calmly is what I would suggest.
Anjan, what are your suggestions on this?
I think I probably won't be able to suggest anything further. And to be very honest, again, I have very limited knowledge about about issues related to mental health. But I think it's important to understand. Like, I think the second question is about how do you deal with panic attack, right? So if you think about panic attack, right, I think it's I mean, similar to anger, to be very honest. Uh, it's this is again from my experience. I would say, like, how I would deal with it, because these are perfectly situations that we all go through. It's perfectly normal. First of all, it's important to normalize your own situation, that this is perfectly okay to have all these things. It's just that how we deal with them. And again, if you need, right, if you're having this constantly, then probably it's important to seek help. But very simple techniques are there. Basically, first recognize the solution. They should recognize the problem. And if someone is coming to me, then I'll just probably say, like, just calm down. There are techniques like breathing exercises that you can do. And then there are other techniques, like, I think there is a technique called TFT, which you can use. So there are techniques. So I think it's probably best to look it up and find answers to your problems. And in the worst case, there is always professional help you should take. Ankit is there, for, which provides solution around these kind of problems. So this is important. Okay, it's. I think the first important thing is to recognize, and I'm really happy that people are recognizing these problems, right? So the other day, someone was discussing about this. This is very important, right? That hey, Anjan, do you think we have more issues of these kind of issues now? But our previous generation did not have these kind of problems, because they were away from computers, they were away from screens, mobile phones or whatever. But my answer to that question is, I think it's not like that. I think the mental health was there, a problem earlier also. It was just that it was not talked about. There is not enough awareness. But I think the current generation is very aware, and current humanity, as a whole, we are very aware about these mental health issues. And people are asking these questions, and this is very important. I think the asking and trying to understand that these are issues that we need to deal with. I think this is the first step, and I'm really happy that we are talking openly about all these things.
Great, great. So we have another question from someone. So this person, he's unable to maintain a sleep routine. Sometimes he sleeps at 3 a.m. or sometimes 4 a.m., which results in feeling tired while going to work. So what would you suggest to maintain the sleep cycle?
Okay, I can take it up. First of all, I don't know if the person is telling that usually they sleep at this time or they are unable to sleep and sleep at this particular time. But if someone is sleeping so late, I think that itself is the primary cause, because your body works with a rhythm and body loves routine. So if you maintain a routine, and it works what we call as a circadian rhythm, where the body wakes up with the waking up of the sun and body goes to sleep with the sun going down. So when we maintain that cycle, those people have a proper routine of waking up on time, sleeping on time, and they have absolutely no issues with sleep, or very less issues with health also. So try to develop a routine, uh, if not only for sleep, overall routine, whether eating on time, and eating at least 3 hours before you go to sleep, so that your body has finished off the digestion and can then assimilate everything. So maintaining a good routine is something important. Second thing is good sleep hygiene. Try to sleep at least 1 or 2 hours before sleeping. Switch off all electronic gadgets. Stay away from the phone, stay away from Netflix binges and everything. Try to read a book if you like reading book, or if you like listening to music. Anything which is going to calm you down, like Anjan said, some breathing exercises, some pranayam is really going to help you. And from the nutrition front, having a glass of warm milk with some turmeric and pepper added can also calm, contract your muscles and lead to a peaceful sleep. So three important tips over here: maintain a routine, good sleep hygiene, and away from electronic gadgets, and eating 3 hours at least prior to bedtime.
Maybe if I can just add to what Alpa just mentioned, some of these are from my own experience as well. I think I'll add the part of exercising, and the process of your body getting tired by the end of the day and then going into a restful state. And that happened with me. When I came to Singapore, there is such less I mean, it's such an easy city that your body just doesn't tire. The noises, etc., was so low, and I got into that same rhythm of sleeping late because the body was just not tiring. So I think exercising is an important part of what you can do to get to a proper sleep. I think secondly, which I have also experienced with respect to sleep hygiene, make sure that the place that you sleep is properly darked out, minimal light as possible. I've experienced this personally. Sleeping in a dark environment with very less light has much better sleep outcomes as well. Thirdly, I'll say, see if you are you working out of your bed, which is a constant thing that a lot of us do. In the hybrid workspace, we are sitting on our bed and working. Now the brain technically wants different destination. That's the part about compartmentalizing, that you work in a different place, you sleep in a different place, etc., etc. So when the brain understands that, what, the bed is the working place, it's constantly in that mode of making you work, not tire you out. So make sure that you stay away from bed when you're working, right? Have a study table, etc. Simple things, but they have a very important impact on how the brain processes, if you're whether you're going for sleep or you're actually still active and you have to work.
Right, right. Thank you, Ankit. So we have another question for Alpa. Uh, how to
Yeah.
improve gut balance to improve mental health?
So, like I mentioned, gut is our second brain. So, whatever you eat is directly affecting your mental health. So, I think to improve your gut, first and foremost, try to feed your gut the good foods. Obviously, the foods that I mentioned, the gut friendly foods, which are the probiotics like the curd or any fermented foods. And fiber is another great gut friendly food. So basically, what the fiber does is in your gut, the fiber will stay there. It will mix with water and it will throw out whatever else is not needed and flush it out of your body. So that fiber is also giving that enough time for the bacteria to act, and that fiber is also helping good amount of nutrients to be absorbed from the body. So each meal try to incorporate some form of fiber, whether it can be vegetables. You can have at least 2 to 3 fruits a day or 2 to 3 servings of vegetables a day. This fiber is really going to help. Now, the when I was talking about sugar, let me elaborate it a little bit. Sugar or processed foods or even foods which have got a lot of additives, colors, chemicals, junk food which has got something which is called as trans fat, right? So which is the fat which harms the digestive system. So all of these foods, if you're a person who eats those regularly, ordering out quite a lot or eating all these foods, what happens is these foods reduce the good bacteria, bad bacteria starts flourishing in the gut. And these bacteria and different organisms create some holes in the gut. Now, our gut is like a fishing net, so that net is there, and it only helps good things to be permeate through it and enter the body. Rest everything is thrown out. Now, if imagine if there are holes in this fishing net, so the foods that you don't want to enter also enter from there, and they enter different parts of the body, and you are all fine, and all of a sudden you start feeling cranky, you start feeling irritable all the time, and like someone mentioned, angry all the time. Sometimes you really are trying your best, doing everything, but still you're unable to get your mental confusion down. So could be that unwanted material from the gut are entering and affecting your body as well as your brain. So this is what we call as autoimmune conditions, which affect mentally as well as the body as well. Now, how to prevent this is, first and foremost, avoid all these irritants from your diet, and you heal your diet with some good foods. There are also certain supplements, again with the help of professional help you would take it, but there are certain supplements like glutamine, good gut friendly foods and probiotics and all, which you can add in with the proper dietitian's help.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts and your information on this. Um, Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to ask each one of our esteemed panelists to share one piece of advice for the working Gen Zs on maintaining better mental health in their professional and personal lives. We'll start with Ankit.
Um, One advice would be to I think there is help available. We just don't take it. I would just say this, that there is help available. Uh, Take help. If you have a growth mindset of trying to kind of improve yourself, it's always best to kind of take professional help to improve yourself. Which can also mean solving your past challenges, your concerns, and also improving yourself to kind of become a better individual. So there's help available. Take help when it comes to mental health.
All right. Anjan, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I think this is a great advice Ankit has given. I just wanted to point out the same thing about, I think, the sleep problem that we having right now. And I was thinking about it, why this sleep problem has come to, and probably this is a generational problem. And it's probably one of the main thing is effects of bright lights. So if you think about it, right, 50 years back, we did not have this kind of bright lights, right? So if you are having lots of lights around you, right, it is definitely going to. So basically, at the end of the day, sleep is very important, right? So do everything to study everything basically to improve your sleep. At the end of the day, we are corporate employees, and we need to understand that if you are, I mean, there is a suggestion I just recently read about it, that basically if you are sleeping after 10 o'clock, right, you are doing night shift. This is what the presenter said. You are doing night shift. So if you're getting paid for it, it's okay. But don't do night shift, please. You have to get to bed as early as possible. You have to maintain the circadian rhythm. So do all the research about sleep, because this is probably a havoc right now that we are sleeping very late. So that's all I wanted to add.
All right, Alpa, what do you think?
Well, so I think being a nutritionist, I would definitely tell everyone to be aware that, food is something which is not limited only for your weight loss goals, or, I want to lose weight and that is why I want to eat this, that. Food goes way beyond that, and food actually impacts on every part of you, whether it's physical, mental. So accept food for how it is, and for all the goods and the bads, and try to eat better, try to evaluate food better on how it affects you. And I think I mean, from my own experience, right, when I get clients, and they tell me, no matter, I followed your diet to the T, but I did not lose any weight, and why, what am I doing wrong? But they fail to go to the emotional aspect, where, probably they were not emotionally stable, or something must have gone wrong with the emotions. So food and emotions and mental health go hand in hand. So try to correlate them, and it will work for a better mental health and better mood, better emotional health as well.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Uh, thank you all for sharing your valuable insights and advice. Let us all make a conscious effort to prioritize our mental health and well-being. With that, we conclude today's session. It was an amazing webcast. Thank you, everyone, and also the attendees. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a happy weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Very
Thanks.
enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.